Rule number one of this video is no spoilers. Okay, no story spoilers, no secret spoilers, no Bananza transformation spoilers. I'm going to show you a very condensed section of gameplay. It's across about an hour and a half of gameplay, 2 or 3 different levels, but it's not going to spoil anything. It's not going to give away any of the secrets or the surprises or the things that make you go wow in DK Bananza. But you got to see some of the gameplay to know that this game has been hiding so much. All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from Switch Force. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about DK Bananza, and if you're going to buy DK Bananza. I was buying DK Bananza right off the bat because A, the Switch 2 needs a new game, and B, I've been a lifelong Donkey Kong fan, and I want to support him coming back to a 3D space. But let me tell you, holy crap, they undersold the heck out of this game. I feel like it's great to start with. Mario Kart World was a bit of an overstatement, right? They're like, oh, we got this open world, this free roam, this single player. I think DK Bananza has shown the same stuff in gameplay over and over again, to the point that I was worried this game was quite simplistic, quite basic, and was not going to feel like a fleshed out Mario-esque adventure, right? I think that's kind of what everybody wanted, right? A Mario-esque adventure, but for DK, right? It's got to have DK feeling, it's got to have DK vibes, and it's got to have DK mechanics. And so Nintendo decided they were going to nail down this destruction mechanic, and that was going to be DK's thing. And they take it so many places that I feel keep this game paced incredibly, controlling perfectly, and so much addictive fun. I've not been able to put down DK Bananza. I did not want to make this video because I did not want to stop playing the game. And at some point I was like, okay, I got to stop playing the game so that I can talk to you about it. I think DK Bananza excels because it taps into what makes open world and modern sort of collectathon, collectible type games, 100% type games fun, but doing it in a very Nintendo way that never sacrifices ingenuity, creativity, and new ideas. So many games are about going from point A to point B to point C and eventually to point Z, just collecting everything that's there. And it's mundane, it's monotonous, but you're pulled forward because you gotta collect it all, right? Like, gotta catch them all is something that has been addictive from the very beginning. But it's not because the game is so fun, it's because you want to see the numbers go up, right? You want to complete all of the checkboxes. You need to fulfill the objectives and get the achievements or the trophy or whatever it might be. Donkey Kong Bananza, I feel, takes that formula. It's like a modern day collectathon, but everything that you do within the game is so fun, and it's paced expertly where you go from one activity to the next, to the next, to the next, so quickly and so seamlessly with such perfect Donkey Kong movements that it never feels like it's letting up. There really isn't a slow moment in Donkey Kong Bananza, despite the game not being incredibly hard, at least thus far. I've not gotten to the later stages of the game. Maybe it does increase the challenge quite a bit. It could up the ante, definitely. I can see ways how you can chain together moves and make some very challenging platforming segments, as well as some challenging just puzzle-solving navigational problems that you have to complete via destruction, via Bananzas, via power-ups. And I think that what they undersold and what they didn't make clear was that this game was going to be so chock full of content, that it was going to be so flush with things to do and so flush with bananas. Okay, bananas are the modern day moons. If you played Mario Odyssey, you collected tons of moons. And they shifted sort of the mentality from, hey, let's have a star that's a singular objective that you go and get. And basically it's very linear, it's very prescribed, right? You have to do this star, go get to the top of Tip Top Cavern, right? Collect all the red coins. It was very defined of what you needed to do, and then you were fulfilling that. And I still think that style of gameplay is incredibly fun, but Nintendo has pivoted, I think, to try to make a more modern, feeling fresher, let's say something that appeals to the Fortnite kids a bit more, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just does change the style. And we saw that in Mario Odyssey, where it wasn't about a singular objective. It was about a world, a level, and then completing a list of objectives within that level, and maybe even stumbling upon some along the way. DK Bananza takes that to another exponential degree by littering bananas everywhere, okay? You get bananas for just exploring. You get bananas for digging. You get bananas for finding secret rooms. You get bananas for completing the more intricate platform challenges. You get bananas from completing many of the challenge rooms. And this game is just absolutely littered with challenge rooms. I've been surprised how many challenge areas there are. Some are combat challenges, some are platforming challenges. I prefer the platforming challenges, and I prefer the platforming and the digging and the destruction over the combat. Thus far, I feel like the combat is pretty basic. If I had to pick a weakness of the game, I would say it's the combat, but that's something that I could see definitely evolving as the game goes on. I don't think combat is necessarily the strong suit of 3D Mario either. I mean, it's like punch, punch, kick for the combo and take that enemy out. It's never like a nuanced battle system, and DK doesn't have that nuanced battle system either. But that doesn't in any way feel like it waters down the experience, because the traversal experience is so original here, or at least it's so original from a Nintendo standpoint and given the Nintendo mold. Instead of utilizing jumps to be your primary action, right, and your primary way of interacting with the world, it's all about digging and destroying. It's all about pushing through, pushing underneath, pushing up, and it really has impressed me how this control mechanism that at Target, when I demoed the game, was like, okay, left is for punch horizontal, that's the Y button, X is for punch up, B is for punch down, and then A is jump. This is going to feel a little wonky. It becomes so natural. They found the perfect control scheme, and DK moves. He floats like a butterfly, he stings like a bee. He packs a punch, and there's always something for him to engage with. There are not blank spaces of the area. I think that does not come across in what they showed. They showed a lot this like tunnel that's very basic and boring. It's the intro. No other area is that sparse. And then they showed this first world where you're first learning to throw pieces of rock, first learning to turf surf as you ride on the rock, first learning to aim and target. It's so basic. The game quickly teaches you, and before you know it, you're tearing through the environments. And some worried that you'd be tearing through these environments willy-nilly, that it would be all sorts of chaotic and crazy, and there wouldn't be much rhyme or reason. And I would say there's still that energy, but there's not that detractor, right? It still has the energy of you can tear through the entire level. You can just go ham, but there's something just so cathartic and fun about destroying everything and finding so much within your destruction. They've got this great mechanic that is definitely like a borrowed thing from Batman Arkham Asylum, like detective vision, right? DK can slap the floor and see all of the different secrets around him. And that sort of becomes your breadcrumb trail, right? That's what pulls you forward. That's what has you constantly wanting to destroy. That's what has you constantly wanting to go from point A to point B to point C to point D, because it's very fun to get from point A to point B to point C. And I opened up the first level and I completed it. And you can immediately kind of jump down. You're going down, right? The whole goal of the game is to get to the planet course. It's all about going down. You can get to the point where you can dive down to the next level very quickly. Lo and behold, there was an entire other side of the level, maybe even 2/3 of the level, that I did not see, that I did not know existed, and I chose to go there. Donkey Kong Bonanza would probably be a relatively short and breezy affair if you just tried to speed run it. I don't recommend that at all. Now, I don't know if towards the end of the game there's going to be a point where you come up against a wall and it's like, oh, you need 300 bananas, and if you haven't been collecting them, you're going to be in trouble. But it seems to me like, at least the first level, as an example, you could get like 1 or 2 bananas and then go to the next level. Or there's like 35 bananas to collect. Now, I think this is the type of game that absolutely is so fun to chase 100%. And I'm not a 100% type gamer. I'm more like, I want to see the story. I want to beat it. I'm lucky if I beat the game, because that takes a lot of time. And, there's always things taking my attention, bouncing me around. So the fact that I just want to explore every nook and cranny, I want to complete every puzzle, I want to complete every challenge, I want to seek out all the different fossils that allow you to unlock different outfits for Pauline, different outfits for DK, different fur colors. They give you different perks based on what you're wearing. It's because they make the controls of DK so effortless, but also so fun, right? There isn't really yet a secret sauce, I would say, except that it's very much borrowing the Mario team mentality of, hey, how do we iterate on an idea time and time again to just twist it a bit, to angle it a little bit more, right? To turn it a bit about face. How can we change this slightly to make it feel fresh and fun and unique? Now all of a sudden you're digging through mud and it's slowing you down. Now you're digging through snow and it's able to turn lava into walkable terrain. You have the ability to go ham into Donkey Kong Bonanza mode, where he becomes this big King Kong type figure, to tear through concrete and to tear through space more easily. And, initially it was this worry that, oh, you can go the Bonanza forms quite often. That's going to make the game easy. But see, in Donkey Kong Bonanza, The difficulty is not really a traditional difficulty because the worlds and the levels are not traditional worlds. You're not like, okay, if I crush the entire level, I can get across this gap so easily. Because really the goal of Donkey Kong Bonanza, or the way that the game was laid out, the way that the game was sort of conceptualized, is not getting from point A to point B so linearly, right? It's not like a Mario level where you're just trying to find the flagpole. You're not just trying to get to the end. That defeats the purpose and really isn't the purpose of Donkey Kong Bonanza, in my opinion. Like I said, you can pretty quickly get to what you'd call like the plot point, right? Like, okay, go down to the next full level, get to the point where you fight the next Void Co boss. I personally think you're missing out on 85% of the game and so much of what makes the game special, addictive, and oh so enjoyable if you just follow critical path, because this game is not a platformer in the horizontal sense. It's more of a vertical platformer. It's more of an explorative platformer, and it's something that I don't know that Nintendo has done or that I've really seen done so far. I can't think of a game that takes this idea to full fruition. Like the closest, and I've made this comparison before, the closest I can come up with is Deep Rock Galactic. But Deep Rock Galactic is going to an objective, right? You're getting down to a core, and like there are multi-objective ones where it's like, okay, collect 6 eggs or look for all of these different amounts of a certain material. And this kind of feels like that, but I would say there's far less like density in those worlds. Like they're still very fun to explore. So much of that game is actually about combat, whereas so much of this game is about exploration. So it's like Deep Rock Galactic, but with a platforming explorative focus as opposed to a combat focus. Combat is actually quite limited. There's few encounters, few enemy types, at least thus far. It's more about how you're going to get through the level. And I mean that quite literally. Not get through just point A to point B, but how are you going to pinball throughout this entire level, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And for me, it's not so much about, like I thought the game was going to be about, okay, how can I shortcut this, right? How can I get from A to D? How can I get from B to J and skip segments of the level? But because it's not structured in a traditional platforming sense, it's so much more about enjoying all of those points. And so it's like you want to get A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it doesn't matter the order you do it. And I think that's what keeps it feeling fresh and paced so excellently. You don't have to go A, B, C, D. You could go A, J, Q, W, X, B, C, D, E. Like you can really bounce around, and it makes these levels feel open. It makes these levels feel accessible. It makes these levels feel very organic, and it makes them feel very fun and not repetitive. Because you're not repeating the same line, right? The same pathway from time to time. You're just going however you want. Like maybe this time you jump across a few bridges, but the next time you're underneath it, and now you're popping up from beneath the surface. And then the next time you're above it, and you're falling down from above. Like there are so many interesting ways for you to access and explore. I think what makes this game so fun for me is kind of that it's a new genre. It kind of hasn't been done, and that's why I'm not bothered thus far by the difficulty being, very beatable. I think this is a game that you can get from start to finish pretty easily, and it's a game that if you want 100% is going to evoke more challenge. It's going to bring about more skill requirements, and maybe by the end it's going to be something where, yeah, there are really difficult challenge levels. The challenge levels usually have 3 bananas, and the first is just for beating it. The second is usually along the way, and then the third is hidden. And those third ones can be difficult to get, and sometimes even completing the challenge can be a little bit more tricky. I really think, though, that what makes this game so enjoyable, what makes it so fun, and what makes it so must-play is that the art of playing the game is incredibly engaging and incredibly fun. It doesn't necessarily need top-tier difficulty to be super joyful, to be something that you're addicted to be something that you have to keep playing. It doesn't need crazy combat. It just has incredible mechanics and an incredible pacing push where you have to get more bananas, to get more skill points, to get deeper into the core, to figure out what's going on in this wacky world. And it's more about the journey than maybe the destination, and that kind of takes shape in each level, because each level is such a joy to see the entirety of. Like, you want to explore and go for that 100% because you want to see what all have they come up with, what all have they thought of. There's all of these side things you can do as well in terms of, like I said, the challenges. You can dress DK up. There's skill points that are very fun. There's the different Bananza transformations. There are the boss battles. There's a lot of more traditional elements. But for me, it's just this like explorative gameplay with Donkey Kong's character and new moveset in a very Nintendo-coded world. So it's not just like a survival game, right, explorative, where it's like, okay, this is very basic and it's a tree puncher and you're just going through the steps and the motions. It's Nintendo coded in their own ingenious way with their own bright, happy, expertly crafted worlds and characters and ideas and concepts. It really is Mario donning a DK suit. It's a new type of Mario game where DK is your avatar. And I think if you told any Nintendo fan, any Switch 2 buyer, that what DK Bananza was going to be was the next big Mario game, except hairier, with a whole new style of gameplay, and it was going to be even more different than what Odyssey was from Galaxy, people would have all jumped for joy. This is a new 3D Mario, except it is more unique and distinct than maybe any of the subsequent 3D Marios that came before it. I'm floored by DK Bananza. I think it's insanely fun. It is the perfect launch game for Switch 2. It's not a launch game. Mario Kart World is great for multiplayer, it's great for online, and it's great because everybody has to have it since everybody played Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But DK Bananza is really the Switch 2's secret gem, and it shouldn't be a secret much longer because this game is about to be out, it's about to be everywhere, and I think it's going to be a must own. I think this is fun for just about any Nintendo Switch 2 owner, and I'd recommend it heavily whether you're 8 or 88. I think they did it again, doing what Nintendo does best, which is crafting a game where playing the game is just so fun. It's not because of the side stuff, it's not because of the grind, it's not because of the progression or the meta-narrative or the battle pass. It's because the act of playing the game, hands on the controller experience, is so darn good. You have been challenged, 3D Mario. What are you going to do? How they decide to unveil and release and design the next 3D Mario is going to be crazy because this set a very new type of standard. It's not the same formula, but it is the same creative base where they want to make the game so fun to play that everything melts away. The character is so great to control that you just can't stop being him. And that's how I feel about DK, and that's how I feel about DK Bananza. This game is a resounding success, an absolute must-buy, a system seller, and truly the next 3D Mario, except we're also getting the next 3D Mario. So it feels like a double win here. It feels like the best case scenario, and I just want to go back to playing and finding out if we're going to get some of what we hoped we might get and where it goes and how they take this challenge and this destruction mechanic and the ideas and the different twists on the formula, how they manipulate them as I move towards the back half of the game and the end of the game. It's going to be so fun to see. I think DK Bananza is absolutely stellar. I love it, and I think y'all are going to love it too. Nintendo, they held back on this one in terms of what they showed in their marketing, and that was the move, because now it's just an absolute, it's an A+. It's a double rainbow. It is a star-studded secret gem that isn't so secret anymore, because now we know that DK Bananza is much more than meets the eye, and basically a whole new genre. So let me know your take in the comments down below. If you pick up DK Bananza, let me know what you think of it. Are you going to buy it? Is there some weird world where this doesn't sound like it's for you? I can't imagine who that person is. I think this is for literally everybody. I think it's going to be super fun, and I think Nintendo made that kind of game where it's like, no matter what, you're going to have a blast. And that's perfect. That's what Nintendo represents, and that's what a system seller launch game, in my opinion, should represent. So DK Bananza, I want this to be associated with Switch 2 more than Mario Kart World. No shade to Mario Kart World, but like, this is just fantastic. All right, I could go on forever, but I'm going to get back into the world of DK and Pauline and figure out what the heck she wants at the center of the earth. In the meantime, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. Switch Force out.